Hello YouTubers, it's Willow here. It is early September, so it's been a full 4 months of gardening, almost 4 months of gardening so far, and things have actually gone better than expected. I usually try to start the gardening season with no expectations whatsoever. I've learned that after 7 years of gardening, 6-7 years of gardening now, because gardening will break your heart. It'll break your heart sometimes, you know. It'll humble you to the vast power of nature, and it'll make you understand that you are not in control. You can do your thing, you can do the best you can care lovingly for your plants, but there's that mysterious magical element of nature, right, that we all love, that will bring you to your knees. Yeah. Anyway, so you kind of get to the point where you just roll with it, you know. That's kind of like the farmer and rancher way, is like you've gotten so many hits that it barely phases you anymore. So anyway, with that lighthearted little banter, basically I have had more success than I had hoped for. It was a weird year. It was extremely hot. We got almost no precipitation, so I've had to water diligently. And some of the plants were kind of slow growing, but have kind of come on. And anyway, I was just going to show you what I have going on now, beginning of September. Now, this is my little raised bed here. And as you can see, I have a bunch of Swiss chard. Those are the big green guys that are looking nice and lush. And Swiss chard is such an amazing plant to grow. I would suggest growing it for any gardener who likes greens. If you like greens, Swiss chard is your thing, because it is a cut and come again plant. So basically, I'll show you. You would just basically cut these big leaves, and then there's little leaves in the center here that'll just keep growing. And it is generally really prolific. It grows a lot. You get a lot of Swiss chard out of a season of Swiss chard. And it's like beet greens, only without the beet bulb. So you would use it in stir fries, soups, sauces. You can just have it steamed. You can actually break it up and put it in salads, have it as like, a secondary lettuce. It's really, really versatile. So from the previous video, you may have remembered there was a big line of bok choy all through here. Now the bok choy was wonderful because it came up early and it produced right away. So I got to eat bok choy for a good solid 2 months before the hot weather kind of killed off the plants. Like the plants kind of stopped growing. They kind of got, kind of crusty looking and weren't really producing good stuff. So bok choy is a really good thing to grow early in the spring. It'll pop up really fast, and then you'll have your greens, and then by the time the bok choy is done, your Swiss chard and your kale and all that kind of stuff should be coming up. So I have a second, what I did this year, which is different from previous years, is I'm experimenting with a fall garden. So we actually have a pretty short growing season for the fall in Canada, because where I am right now, the first frost will be kind of at probably the end of the first week in October or mid-October. So, you don't have a heck of a lot of time. But I have a second little row of bok choy started in here, and I'm basically just gonna see, and actually there's a little bok choy right there growing up nice and big. That's actually part of the mesclun lettuce mix. So I'm just sort of experimenting with what I can grow later in the season, what there's time to grow basically. And even if I just get some baby greens out of it, I'll be happy with that. Lettuce is another thing. Here's some lettuce, guys, that are growing, and lettuce is another thing that is somewhat tricky to grow because it doesn't like hot weather. So, and we've had a very, very hot summer, like way hotter than average. So what happens is your lettuce will come up in the spring really nicely, and then it will, when the weather starts getting hot, it will turn bitter. And then basically, you know, unless you're into extremely bitter foods, that's no good anymore. So you have to pull those plants out. And you also do what's called succession planting with lettuce, where you plant seeds about every week or every 2 weeks to try to keep a plentiful supply. I just planted a whole buttload of them in the spring, and then by the time it got too hot, I just pulled those plants out because they're pretty much wrecked. And I was not able to succession plant throughout because the soil was too hot for the seeds to even germinate. Apparently, lettuce seeds will not germinate above 95 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 35 degrees Celsius. And we had temperatures there or above, so I couldn't get the seeds to germinate. And then when a few did germinate, the lettuce would turn bitter almost immediately. But this stuff has been planted in cooler temperatures, and so I'm hoping, there's another little one back there, I'm hoping that they're going to be okay. And then this is mesclun lettuce mix, which is kind of a bunch of different lettuces all mixed together. And it's growing here. It's just little wee guys at the moment as well. So we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not, you know, super stuck on getting anything. And then down here, of course, these are the herbs. Sorry, I don't know if I've got this going on. The herb end of the garden, as well as some chard growing there. I transplanted my strawberry plant down here because I think this is a better area. My basil plants have actually produced fairly nicely, so I did end up getting some decent basil. More chard. Now this is lettuce, a little lettuce patch again, where I'm just experimenting to see whether I can get any lettuce to grow before basically it gets too cold, and that is a highly scientific experiment that I'm undergoing at this moment. Now we have some broccoli plants, and these broccolis, you know, unfortunately they look really healthy, really big, really great, but only one of these broccolis has produced a head of broccoli, and that's this guy. And these ones, they look wonderful, and they just have not produced broccoli. So I don't think I will plant broccoli in this bed next year. Then we have some more chard. Like I said, I plant chard pretty much everywhere because it's just, you know, it's just so plentiful. Next is, and these are also some lettuce seeds. I don't even remember planting these. They just kind of popped up on their own when the weather cooled down. So that's kind of nice. The next little layer is the zucchinis, and they've been great all year, but they haven't been as plentifully producing as I would have expected out of 7 plants. So yeah, not totally sure. That might have been, again, the weather, just the heat kind of slowing the bees down. They're not the insects are kind of sluggish or what have you. And what I've started doing is hand pollinating the plants. And I'm actually gonna demonstrate for you guys how to hand pollinate a plant. So there are male flowers and female flowers on a zucchini plant, actually on any flowering plant. And it's pretty much how you would expect. This is the male plant, and it has a little thing sticking out in the middle there. And the male plants will be up on a stem like this. The female plants, this is a female plant, and it's not open, but we can actually open it, will be on actually a tiny zucchini or tiny cucumber or tiny fruit. Okay, so the flower that's on the vegetable itself is a female, and the flower that's on this long stem is the male. And so again, the male looks like this in the middle, and the female, we're just gonna open this one up. see what I can do, see if I'm, and the female has, oh sorry, I can't focus on this guy. Female has, let's see if I can get the focusing any better. These little things. So you just, what you do is you take a Q-tip and you get some of the pollen from this, get some of the pollen from the male, there's the pollen, and then you basically just rub it around on the female plant. And, you know, this is what insects do, you know, but we're just basically helping nature here. We're helping the insects to do that. And then you just hope for the best, right? It's just like, you know, trying to have a baby in real life. Well, not just like it, but, you know, it's somewhat similar. Okay, so we've got a couple done there. And then these guys are the cucumbers. And, again, I'm not focused that great on these guys. So you can see some cucumbers growing here. There's a cucumber growing there. There's a cucumber back there. I think there's a big guy. Oh yeah, there's a big guy right here. So this one's pretty much ready to go. Right? I'm gonna take him off a little bit later. So, and the cucumbers didn't actually spread out as much as I was expecting. And again, that could be just because of the heat this year. But overall, I have gotten a lot of food out of this garden. I've put a lot of food away for the winter in the freezer. And yeah, it's been a really great year of gardening, and I'm still not done. I'm still excited to see what ends up growing for the fall garden as well. Okay, so now through the magic of technology, we are back at my community garden beds. I started the year with one bed. I asked for 2 or even 3, and there was a little bit of confusion, but in the end I ended up getting 2 beds, which is awesome, and I'm hoping that those are like my beds from now on. Had to make some signs here. Oops, sorry. I think I gotta go to manual, because there were some people someone harvested my chard out of my bed. I also, just to double check, just to make sure, I made a bunch of stakes, because honestly it's a lot of work to keep this garden going, and yeah, people, you know, you don't want people taking the fruits of your labor, right? So anyway, hopefully I can get my shadow out of the way. This is the bed now, early September, and the secondary bed over there. This stuff here, oh darn, my shadow is going to be completely in the way. So let's try this way. This stuff is my kale, and it's looking a little worse for wear because I've harvested a lot of kale off of here. A lot of kale off of these plants. So, or a fair amount, I guess not a huge amount, but a good amount. And I should still have a couple more feeds coming out of there. Then I have some chard here. Got my strawberries, and my strawberry plants have spread out nicely. I just hope they don't try to take over this whole bed, but even if they just take over this end, we're good to go. Beside the strawberries, we have a cabbage plant, which is exciting to have some cabbage. And then there's another cabbage plant right there. If you can see him, he's kind of hidden under the cauliflower. And I've actually eaten one cabbage out of there. Now, beside them are, yeah, as I said, 3 cauliflower plants, and unfortunately, these cauliflower plants have not produced a head. So that basically just tells me, you know, I'm not going to plant cauliflower next year. This is the first year that I've been in this province that I'm in, British Columbia. So I was just kind of experimenting to see what would grow and what would grow best where and that kind of thing. So, you know, because the cauliflower have not produced anything, and you know, they've taken quite a number of nutrients out of my bed, I will not plant them next year. I don't think I'll plant cabbages next year either, just because it's hard to keep them non-buggy. There's a lot of worms and bugs that love cabbages. They grow fairly small, or mine do anyway. And you know, I think they're maybe best, they take up a lot of space in your bed. So for, you know, and they only produce one cabbage head. So for the best bang for my buck, as far as the limited space that I have, I would probably plant something like chard. Who loves chard? Willow loves chard. Chard or kale, or you know, something that I can harvest, bok choy, something that I can harvest kind of repeatedly throughout a period of time. So this kale's this chard's looking good. But the real newsworthy event here, I think, is the broccoli. This is the first year that I've ever planted broccoli, and like I said, in my hedge bed at my apartment, only one plant out of 4 has actually produced. But here I have 5 broccolis right now. There's another one. There's another one. And I've actually already taken, I think, 2 out of here. So I ended up getting 7 broccolis. 7 broccolis out of these guys. So that's awesome. This is, you know, completely new to me. And I just realized there is a spider who is capturing a cricket. If I can, sorry if I can get, I can't really see if you guys can see that, but yeah, so there's, oh no, what am I, oh no, that isn't a cricket. That's just a weird dark spot. Okay, sorry, skip that part. I'll try to edit that out. Haha! No, just kidding. Who cares? Anyway, yeah. So broccoli is, you know, a fun thing to have. But again, I really have to think about it, because these plants are monstrous. They take up a huge amount of space in the bed, and all they really produce is, you know, a fairly small head of broccoli. Like, this is pretty well as a full size. It might get a little bit bigger than that, but it's definitely not as dense as the broccoli that you get in the grocery store, you know, grown by the professionals. And it'll grow a couple side shoots as well, in addition to this head. But you know, for the amount of space that it takes up and the amount of that you end up actually getting from it, it might not be the best route for me to go as far as the, you know, the limited space that I have. If I had a monstrously big garden like I did in Saskatchewan, you know, I'd definitely go for it. These cabbages as well, the plants are looking great, but they have not really produced a full head yet. So there's still about a month, 6 weeks left in the growing season. So I can hope for the best. This is my tomatoes, and they're, I don't know, they aren't really ripening too fast, so I'm not sure whether I'll get anything too great out of those or not. These are my fall garden plantings, and I have arugula, lettuce, and some spinach. And of course, the star of the show is absolutely the arugula. This is, I can definitely say with certainty that you can plant arugula in a fall garden in BC, and you will get an arugula harvest out of it. So I should have planted more arugula, because it's doing the best of them all. But next I have some green leaf lettuce, and then I have a combination of some mesclun mix. Sorry, the sun is in my eyes, and I don't know if I'm actually focused, but I've got some mesclun mix, which is a mix of stuff, and then I have some red lettuce there, and they're actually doing not too badly too. So I think I'll at least get some baby greens out of this, because like I said, they have a good month, probably 5 weeks, maybe even 6 weeks to grow. So anyway, I will hope for the best. And then my final row is spinach, and again, it was just a total experiment to see whether I could grow spinach in a short time frame from kind of the middle of August to the middle of October. I've never before planted and then we have another little lettuce guy in the middle there, and yeah, so overall it's a fun little experiment to see what's going on, and like I said, I've not done the fall garden before. I was much more of just like a total cowgirl in Saskatchewan. I just kind of let things go, you know. You wouldn't have caught me hand pollinating zucchinis or anything like that. But it's been kind of fun to learn these little tips and these little techniques that can improve your harvest. And that is like really the fun thing I think about gardening, is just every year you refine your techniques, every year you learn new things. The conditions are different every year. The plants grow a little bit differently every year. I was really worried about my chard actually, because I planted my garden May 13th, which is a little bit early for this area. People usually wait until the long weekend in May, which is around May 24th, but I was like chomping at the bit, and it was warm, so I was like, well, I'm gonna go for it. So I planted my garden May 13th, and the chard plants, they came up and then they basically like stopped growing, and I was like, oh no, you know, what's going on with these chards? But as you can see from my, you know, excessive focus on the chards, they, you know, they're growing just fine. They're growing, you know, really nicely. You know, and I went to the local farmer's market. When I ran out of my own lettuce, I went to the farmer's market to see if they had any lettuce. And there was a guy there whose chard and kale were like monstrous sized. And I just felt like, you know, I was like so humbled by that. But then, you know, he was a real farmer, and he like used compost and straw and manure, and like it was very labor intensive for him to produce the, you know, these monstrous chards and kales. So for the resources that I have at my disposal, I'm really happy with what I've gotten out of this. Like I said, I've been eating out of this garden for almost 3 months now, like 2.5 months, and that's, you know, that's a huge help. And I've also put a fair amount away in the freezer, which I will show you guys next. So I said in an earlier video that I was hoping to have this freezer full of garden goodies by the end of the season, and I'm very close to that status. I have a little bit more blanching and freezing to do, probably of my chard, but you know, you have to leave a little bit of space for other things other than just garden vegetables, right? So anyway, I'm basically very close to reaching my goal, which is awesome. Most of this stuff is zucchini, kale, and chard. Those are kind of the money makers. So yeah, so my garden next year is going to be very similar. Like I said, probably without the cabbage and definitely without the cauliflower. So I suppose there's still the off chance that one of those cauliflowers might produce a head. There's still, like I said, 5 or 6 weeks in the growing season, but I honestly wouldn't count on it. So anyway, everything is going to be about the same next year, crossing off cabbage and cauliflower. And I'm also going to try to grow potatoes next year, which will be really exciting because we always had a big potato patch on my family farm. So anyway, I'm going to leave off this scintillating and fascinating video with this long, boring shot of my freezer. And thank you for listening to my gardening ramblings.